Top of the morning to ye. I think today is Leprechaun Day, St. Patrick's.
It's going to be embarrassing if it's not.
Yeah.
We could have quickly Googled that, and we didn't.
We didn't. I couldn't remember. I think March 17th is Wear Green Day. None of us are wearing green.
Well, you should be able to enjoy nonsense more than ever if you're completely drunk right now, right?
Yeah. Oh, even better.
Reverse drunk news.
You guys drink.
And it'll be so much more entertaining, I promise. Let's talk about some AI, as this is the robot section. And let's start out with, interestingly enough, one entity that is begging for regulation for AI.
U.S. Chamber of Commerce calls for AI regulation. They don't understand what's happening. Everybody is past the retirement age. What is going on?
They're a little worried that commerce could be changed entirely by AI, and it could. Could be some weird stuff. I think they also want to be in control of the regulation.
Yeah.
They want to help write it, make sure that it's advantageous to them, and doesn't become one of these patchwork state-by-state things where California stops them from stealing all of our data.
What if all the buggy whip factories close overnight?
We got past it. And here's a AI and regular robot story, because more and more we are going to see these things put together, and we're going to talk about what they're now the new buzzword. This might replace like blockchain AI, multimodal, which means that we're going to take two different AIs, like a language AI and an image AI, and we're going to smush them together.
Google's Palm E is a generalist robot brain that takes commands. ChatGPT style AI model aids vision to guide a robot without special training.
That looks like he's able to do cashier work.
They command him to fetch the thing out of the drawer, and he is able to do so.
Can he get me my pack of pale mail? Can he work at the liquor store?
I was thinking about, it's like, can he make some rice and beans for me?
Yeah.
Assuming any of us would be able to afford that.
I would like some cinnamon toast, $100,000 robot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir. I've looked at your Google Pay account, and you cannot have that. Would you like some more slurry?
You're at the basic subscription level. Please upgrade.
So my colonists in RimWorld get nothing but the finest meals, but I'm eating nutrient based.
Yeah.
And Google, famously at this point, when the whole AI thing started to kick off, and they were like, oh, of course we could do that, but we don't want to because it's disruptive and it's bad for business. And then ChatGPT happened, and they were like, no, we have one. No, we definitely have one.
It does feel that way. Every story, they're really defensive.
And so how are they going to try and make us use theirs now that we've already fallen in love with another one?
Google dusts off the failed Google Plus playbook to fight ChatGPT. I mean, Google's was good enough to convince somebody that it was sentient. I mean, let's not forget the guy that lost his job trying to fight for robot rights.
That guy was a little wacky, though.
I did get the vibe. It's a little wacky.
But if that guy had encountered ChatGPT, he would have been fighting just as hard.
That's what scares me a little bit about it. Not necessarily that it's that hyper intelligent, but that people don't understand how it works and will think that it's hyper intelligent.
I love the jailbreaks where they can get Sydney to talk about itself in the third person. It's amazing.
And what these new AI robots are teaching us is just how bad all the previous robots really were.
Amazon's big dreams for Alexa fall short. Yeah. How, we talk about the people in Microsoft that were working on the Bing team that were probably crying themselves to sleep every night because no one was using Bing, that are probably just as happy now that people are using Bing. But how bad do you have to feel if you're on the Alexa team? Because you were the first mover. You had all the advantages. You could have built this model. You had Amazon Compute. You had all of those GPU resources. And these people beat you to it.
Maybe they didn't care about that. Maybe they're just using it as a surveillance device.
Well, Microsoft, they got in early, and they are wasting no time in taking AI and stuffing it into every product that they offer.
Microsoft introduces AI-based Dynamics 365 Copilot. Spiceworks talks about this. My heart goes out to you if you have to use Dynamics 365. But the real story here is Power Automate. AI and Power Automate. Oh, yeah, that's a game changer.
And Microsoft keeps showing us new AIs because they are building on this success, and they are doing so rapidly.
Microsoft unveils an AI model that understands image content and solves visual puzzles.
This just makes CAPTCHA just
It's
down the drain.
It's another multimodal AI.
So they describe some of the stuff that it can do here. It is really impressive, and they show, it's like how it figures out all the visual stuff and applies that, builds its flowcharts.
I'm just going to get emails from clients being like, how come my CAPTCHA doesn't work anymore? It's always a race against the bots. They always get in eventually.
And the bots just got a huge supercharger
Yeah.
installed on their car. So that race is going to be theirs for a while. But early adoption of these AIs, they're impressive, but they're not necessarily ready yet. They still have some glaring problems.
McDonald's drive-thru robot made a mistake, and then it got ridiculous. So this guy, he got a mistake in his drive-thru order, and then trying to get it corrected did not work out for him.
The problems, like the misses here, one of them, somebody ordered 256 chicken nuggets. They didn't actually order 256 chicken nuggets. Some guy ordered something that was some food item. I can't remember what it was, but the robot decided to add butter. And it wasn't a food item that you could add butter to at all. So they're getting it wrong sometimes.
I wonder if instead of making the AI better, if they'll just dumb down the menu so you have to just like press a button. You know what I mean? Like not have to, you can't customize it very much. Comes in any color you like as long as it's black.
Oh, I think they would have trouble competing with other restaurants that don't do that. Some people are really picky about that thing.
No.
Also, they kind of crapped on this guy's breakfast order, which is a very weird breakfast order. Hash browns, sweet tea, and Coke.
Oh, together in the morning?
I mean, I could see either of those drinks with a hash brown being fine, I guess, but that's a lot of sugar and caffeine to blast yourself with first thing in the
Early
morning.
in the morning, yeah.
Well,
Why not just get a coffee?
I drink the Coke immediately, and then I nurse the tea for hours afterward.
McDonald's sweet tea does have like a weird cult following.
Because it's so much sugar.
I've never had one.
It's just it's a mind-blowing amount of sugar in that drink.
It's not really tea at that point.
It's delicious, but I mean, it's sugar water.
Yeah.
And some of the other drive-thrus for picking up stuff for mom, they've implemented an AI ordering system. And the one I think it's AI, the one at Wendy's, I was there late at night and they seemed to be experimenting with it because it would go back and forth between two voices. And the one that seemed to be trying to take my order did not understand the difference between vanilla. I've said vanilla Coke, and it kept thinking that I said vanilla cone.
Oh.
And they don't even have ice cream cones. It's just like, how does this even?
It can't understand your accent.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to have to.
It'll get there pretty quick, I'm sure.
And Stable Diffusion, kind of a distant memory at this point, right? That wasn't even that long ago, but we've moved so far forward. However, they are still using that, and they are still continuing to destroy entire careers by just making it automated.
Stable Diffusion AI art generator now has an official Blender plugin. Now, the demo that I saw of this was like adding textures to a bedroom scene that someone had created, and that was good.
Some of the others I saw were a little less impressive, but I'm sure it'll get better.
So this is the Stable Diffusion image that was generated, and then you can see in the background where Blender has turned that into the 3D model. Looks pretty good too. Great for indie game developers, I'm sure. And if you're in the search engine game, I think at this point, you can't not have an AI, right? You have to step up.
DuckDuckGo dabbles with AI search. What?
I love that. Like they're like, does DuckDuckGo even have a logo? And they just put a picture of a duck as the article image.
They also have the text has a lot of duck references in it.
Yeah.
So like the sticking their bill in, or sticking their beak in.
Someone had fun. We have fun here.
And, I mean, we've talked about this. Obviously, it was crypto for a while. It was blockchain, and then it became AI. And there was a couple other ones sprinkled in there.
Just, buzzwords. Metaverse.
Metaverse was a big one. Now, of course, it is ChatGPT.
Want to impress AI or want to impress Wall Street? Just add some AI.
Every company will now talk about how they're using AI. And we see this playing out.
Yeah.
Everybody's announcing it. Whether their business model could benefit
Even supports
from AI.
it. Yeah. I do think that maybe this has a little more staying power than some of the other, like the metaverse.
Yeah, this could change the world.
Yeah.
But every company that says they're using it is not going to change the world.
Right.
They're just trying to get that quick hit.
That boost
the
in
investors.
investor dollars.
And AI is being used, even though we've been warned over and over, it's not ready for production yet.
Brit newspaper fills space with AI assisted articles because hiring people to do that is expensive.
It's not even that expensive because like writers make almost no money, but
The thing that I thought was that made me think of this is, okay, this newspaper is using lots of AI generated content. We are seeing an explosion of AI generated content, but all of the AIs that exist today were trained in a time before AI generated content exists. Does that mean that all of the models from here are only going to get worse?
they'll get recursive and like start becoming more and more weird.
Yeah.
I kind of hope so because that would be really funny to me, but
It's funny because they didn't really mean to tell us this, but they kind of told us this in this article. They were like, well, the great thing about this is the AI can do kind of like the easy lifting, and the real reporters can go and do things that we want them to do. And the example they gave was like it had done just like a silly listicle about what to do in a certain town when you're visiting. So basically what they're saying is, yeah, the crap that we shovel onto our website, we don't have to waste our time with that anymore. All the clickbait nonsense, we just let the AI do that.
Again, yeah, the clickbait, it's going to be
a race to the bottom.
a race to the bottom, and also the volume is going to be nut. And then as an individual, you're going to feel betrayed when you waste a bunch of time and you get to the end and it's like,
Oh, this is just that's how I feel about garden. I sent you guys those videos of like gardening channels, and it's just AI generated filler content that's not useful because it's not specific to any zone.
Instead of being delightful, it'll be infuriating, like reading a long 4chan green text and you get to the end and it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
It's an anti-joke, yeah.
It's just like, what's the payoff? What's the payoff?
There's no payoff.
Well, we've got AI that's closing in on actually seeming human, but we still don't have drone delivery everywhere. We were promised drone delivery, and maybe there's a new contender.
Wing debuts a rideshare-style drone delivery network. So a single step platform lowers outside, and you step one step on it, you grab the rail, and then zoop, off you go.
Well, so basically, if you're a business and you want to do drone deliveries with your items, you can just sort of install a little drone bay or whatever. You don't own the drones, you're just part of the network. And it's like, oh yeah, we got like 5 drones in your area. You want to deliver something? Here, you can have this one. And then
just like Factorio's drone networks.
But you own all of them.
I can hear that little like a nice sound, little sound effect in that game.
I wonder when we're going to get the first. It's going to be like, okay, hey, this is McDonald's. Our drone bay is ready. Please come and get this order for food. And it was like, oh yeah, we're just over at the compost factory. We'll be there next. I was like, oh, I don't know about that. We have some space news, and we had some very successful space launches. They were a bit overshadowed by everything else that happened, but good job, NASA.
NASA's Artemis 1 Orion spacecraft aced its moon mission despite heat shield issue. So that's good. No, it's good data. Could have failed catastrophically, but it didn't.
It's got the crew capsule, so we're moving forward with our moon mission.
There's a few engineers who put in some like redundancies for that kind of thing, and they're just feeling so vindicated right now.
And it's insane to think, but this might actually be a cheaper way of storing data someday.
Florida startup moves closer to building data centers on the moon. Lone Star Data Holdings secured around $5 million, which is about enough to just dream about this and not actually do it.
Somebody's got to start writing the post-apocalypse story now, where we're just trying to build back to the point where we can get to the moon and recover.
To find all that information.
Yeah, and then the first one to get there gets all the secrets of the old world.
That's a really cool premise for a sci-fi story.
I can tell you how it ends. They get there thinking that they're going to get the secrets for EUV manufacturing, but instead it's just filled with TikTok videos.
It's a giant feed of Twitter stuff. It's like, is this all AI generated?
Yeah, because it was Amazon EWS, and they were storing what most of their compute infrastructure does, which is not critical infrastructure. It's just ridiculous nonsense.
And the Chinese Guardian Moon robot is still active.
Oh,
That's the finale. Well, the finale is when they figure out it's the Planet of the Apes moment when they're on their knees screaming at the sky, which is not really a sky.
the space. Yeah.
No one can hear them scream because it's space.
Well, the mission control.
Yeah.
And NASA had a bit of a problem with one of their space robots, but it's all good now.
NASA fixed the solar observation spacecraft by turning it off and turning it on again. Fire mode reset sees Interstellar Boundary Explorer back on the job.
That is an edge of your seat reboot cycle.
Yeah. Wasn't there one of their bots, like it started malfunctioning and they're like, just hit yourself. And it like hit itself and it was fine.
One of
It
the
seems to happen a lot.
one of the Mars bots?
I think so. I might be manufacturing
Because
that
of
memory.
dust. I seem to remember something. like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. And everybody wants to have a space program now because space is going to be big business in the near future. And Japan wanted desperately to be part of the gang.
After nearly a decade in development, Japan's new rocket fails in its debut.
It's unfortunate, but it's so refreshing when you hear these Japanese, like people in charge, when they get something wrong. Our leaders, when they get something wrong, they just deny it or ignore it or just don't comment. The Japanese people are like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I will say that
happened.
like people working in space are a little different than politicians.
Well, but this guy's like probably the bureaucrat running the program. They probably don't put the actual astronauts out in front of the cameras.
But I mean, it's a difference between working at like NASA versus working at the White House.
And moving on to the nonsense section, this is madness, and I can't imagine why we are trying to do this. If there's one thing that we do not have a shortage of on this planet, it's children.
The scientists create mice with two fathers after making eggs from male cells.
Why? Why do we need this?
Although there were was this the one where there were mitochondrial defects?
Yeah, there's going to be problems. There's so many kids out there who no one wants. Just go get one.
I wish it was that simple. Well, I understand why we have some of the safeguards we do, but
Yeah,
it's still terribly hard to.
that whole logic cycle is just a spiral of darkness.
Yeah, it's like, well, I want it to be easier for people to adopt, but I also don't want abusive people to adopt. And
And when you get to the end of the spiral, you're probably like, maybe we shouldn't have any more people.
I can't just think of it as like if you want to adopt children, the default position is something is wrong with you, which is not a terrible. I mean,
that's how I feel just in general. Like something has to be wrong with me.
yeah, same.
It's probably a disorder.
Well, I think something's wrong with this because I think we invested in this and we're not getting any returns on our investment.
Moderna's vaccine for the thing. Hike the price, but offer it for free if you're uninsured, which seems very weird, very messed up set of priorities and incentives there.
So we went from putting a gun to your head and saying you have to have this to, no, this is $130.
Government stopped footing the bill.
But we already paid that bill in the beginning. And perhaps the zeitgeist is reflecting all of this horror that we keep talking about every week. And maybe it's starting to really affect all of us.
ADHD startups are exploding, and now there's even a dedicated browser. So, this is frustrating.
I do feel like I've seen more people talk about ADHD with the rise of the internet. So it's
Yeah.
like you wonder, it's like how much of it is environmentally based.
Because it's so easy to tune out the bad or the stuff you don't like. Now, this browser is interesting, though. It turns off all sounds. It turns off any kind of pop-up notifications. It actually sounds like a beautiful browser just for general use.
That's what I'm saying though. Like I think we live in such an environment where like there's so much stuff coming at us all the time. That's why we're seeing a rise in the diagnosis, because the environment makes you feel overwhelmed.
But it's also because that diagnosis will excuse you from certain responsibilities and get you drugs. And it gets you the same drugs that a lot of people like to abuse.
Maybe.
And Yeah, once again, the unintended consequences here seem like a risk. What do we did we the how old are
The CRISPR babies.
CRISPR babies?
I thought about that when
The
we saw the
super
story.
babies.
I don't know.
That seems like they're doing okay. Maybe China's just not telling us about them.
Maybe something bad has happened and they're like, we'll just keep that out of the news.
But the unintended consequences are going to come from this level 1 prediction.
UK government urged to consider changing law to allow gene editing of embryos. And this is to try to correct genetic defects that are caught very early in pregnancy.
But you know, for sure, if this was legal, but it was like, well, it's legal, but you have to have a doctor sign off on it, and you can't just do it for a designer baby, which is the bigger. Donald Trump would have had designer babies. No question
Every
about it.
celebrity would.
Absolutely. And
Haven't we seen where this goes? Has no one seen Gattaca?
they've
There's
seen
like
it.
whole plot lines about it.
They've seen it and they don't care. And my God, the things that we're learning about what we've been taught about our food, it's just infuriating. And I'm so angry that I spent that many years of my life not understanding and being told the opposite of what is real. And there's a lot of different things here, but the big one is sugar.
Yeah.
Big sugar. Get your pacifier there. Big sugar is in total control of your life.
Food fight. The FDA is redefining healthy and the food industry is pushing back. It turns out real butter with real salt in moderation is probably less bad for you than the butter substitute.
The country crock that we all ate out of as kids.
And saturated fats. Listen, I'm not a doctor, not a nutritionist. I don't know anything. I'm an idiot on YouTube. But it seems to me that saturated fats might not be the villain that they've been made out to be. Now, this doesn't change any of that. This still vilifies saturated fat, but it very, very carefully excludes sugar from all of this.
See, that's weird to me.
Yeah.
That's so weird to me.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, it's not weird when you consider why they're doing it.
Yeah.
And it's because the big sugar, like Coke, for example, they own all of the medical stuff at this point. Them and Big Pharma.
I was just going to say like corn and corn syrup and
It's
all
also
the
Well, yeah, it's
investments
all
we
the
make
same
in that.
stuff,
Yeah.
It's also really interesting to try to read as much as you can about sugar substitutes because some of those, like sucralose, should not have a metabolic impact because it's just left-handed sugar, and it turns out that in some scenarios it does. Apparently,
A lot of people commented from last week when we talked about the erythritol. I don't know how to pronounce that word. I think it's close to that. They're saying that was Big Sugar pushing a fake study so they didn't get threatened by replacement sugar.
Interesting.
Because that stuff is as close as we've ever gotten to tasting like sugar.
Have you
So-
ever had a stevia leaf? It actually
Yeah.
tastes pretty sweet.
I've had refined stevia. I've not had a leaf.
One of my roommates in college, she had like a little herb garden. She grew stevia, and it was weird. You'd eat that leaf, and it was the same kind of like super
But it's got,
sweet.
don't you get the aftertaste? I get the aftertaste.
It's a little
nasty.
bit grassy, like when you eat just the leaf, but it's
didn't-
very sweet.
I didn't like stevia nearly as much as I like the erythritol stuff. And this one, I mean, there's a lot of loopholes here, but is this a baby step?
2 drug companies can legally start selling cocaine, heroin, and MDMA for very strict, controlled medical reasons.
I'm sure they won't ever abuse that in the lab.
That's in Canada as well. That's not the U.S.
Just Canada.
Oh my goodness. It's so aggressive.
Look at, oh my gosh, please buy, subscribe.
Oh, this is can you see the friendly URL? This was one of when we first started with the horribleness of the last couple of years, there were some extreme things considered. Now in China, they did this.
Yeah.
But you would think like, as they point out, and there was a comment here, it's like, well, we know some countries did this, but a liberal democracy would never consider this. They considered it.
UK briefly considered killing cats because of the global situation a couple of years ago. It's like, because cats could carry the disease.
But not just killing all cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They thought about wiping out the cats.
Let's look at this article and then see what's happening with bird flu.
Yeah, but I mean, birds we need them for food. But cats are our family members.
It's true. I'm just saying.
A lot of pets were euthanized in China. It's very sad.
I like to believe that would be the line for me.
that you would fight back against that?
I know they would die anyway, and so would I. But I like to believe that I have the courage that would be my line in the sand of the dystopia. It's like, all right, here's where I'm checking
Come
out.
here to round up my cat.
Yeah, the cat SWAT team. I'm going to take as many of you as I can.
If I ever become like, if I ever retire, decide to be an author, which is, you know, this is parallel universe country. One of the characters in the book is totally going to be somebody who's moved to Iceland or somewhere because that was the line in the sand they drew, and they took their cats with them. And it's like, no, I'm living as a mountain man off the grid because
They tried to take my cat.
they came from my cats.
Yeah.
They can find that guy homesteading on the moon when they go to the moon data centers.
Yeah.
He's a little wacky though.
And-
He knows about the space road. He tries to warn the explorers that there's the Chinese death bot up there. And they're like, what are you talking about? You're crazy.
It's a little bit based on the cats with all the thumbs, so there's just cats everywhere.
Moon cats. Well, maybe we won't have to worry about that because maybe we will revive a horrible wipe out humanity type situation from the permafrost.
Scientists have revived a zombie virus that spent 48,500 years frozen in permafrost.
Did you hear that like emergency siren in the background? That's my reaction to this story.
It's the first infection.
Oh, yeah. They think that's going to start happening more often. Like there's a risk of just any sort of disease coming out of permafrost as it
Right.
melts.
They're doing this one on purpose.
Right.
But it's because they're afraid that, you know, as the climate changes, then things are going to start melting and these could. But how would they, what vector could they follow from there? 'Cause
Animals.
are there a lot of animals there?
Yeah.
We have to kill all of them.
I know. Every story, you know, we were like, no sads this week because we're going to try to do fun stories. It's like every story ends with we have to kill all the animals.
Well, here's a fun one. I guess at this point, St. Patrick's Day is already be over, right?
I guess.
But maybe you can enjoy some of this next year.
Sunny D Vodka Seltzer, a childhood favorite, grows up.
I'm only interested if it comes in the pouch with the straw.
Nah, it's going to be these little 12-ounce cans.
Yeah.
As someone who tried, like in a college party, I was like, oh, we'll use Sunny D instead of orange juice with the vodka. Do not recommend.
Have you ever actually seen Sunny D outside of its pouch? It's just clear.
Are you thinking of Capri Sun?
Oh, I'm thinking of Capri Sun.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Sunny D is the orange
Orange juice. Kind of
Well,
orange juice, yeah.
It's orange and juice, but it is not orange juice.
Yeah.
But
it's
I
like
have-
Yoo-hoo. It's chocolate flavored drink.
I was shocked to find out that my orange flavored Capri Sun was in fact clear.
Yeah. I mean, I get it because you don't really need to spend the money on the color, but
But also, I mean, think about this idea. We are just so conditioned that we think that caramel, like black liquid, is more appealing than clear liquid. Because Pepsi tried
Yeah.
not dying.
oh
yet.
yeah, and people
And
didn't
people
like
are
it.
like, what is this? I can't have this. And here's another thing that you're not going to be able to have because it's evil and bad for the environment.
Editorial: balloon bans are the result of humans acting irresponsibly with their stuff. Also wasting helium, which we need for medical imaging.
Yeah, I'm kind of okay with this. The amount of times
Yeah.
I find balloons on the side of the road while I'm walking.
I don't like, what do we ever use balloons for that we really desperately need other than like
Spying on each other.
Chinese, other than distracting the world from a horrible train accident? That's the only use that balloons have. And all the ridiculous, like when people will do the gender reveals,
Yeah,
and it's like,
it's-
oh, this is at least 5,000 pink balloons.
And then they end like people are like, oh, they go away, and it's like, no, they end up on the side of the road, and then I have to pick them up.
That's the same mentality of people who shoot into the air, and they're like, no, I'm shooting up.
The bullet just goes into space. Like, I don't know. It goes into the stratosphere. There's no problems there.
And another, just a beautiful unintended consequence of overreach of government. And but when they announce things like this, they don't even have any self-awareness of how stupid it was in the first place.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams is telling stores to have customers remove their face masks. ... Question mark.
Because there's a lot of crime. And even with your facial recognition technology, you can't catch them because they're
I
allowed
thought
to.
we did a story a while back where they were like, oh no, facial recognition, it isn't defeated by the masks.
Yeah, I think that was fake.
Yeah, so if you want, that's just telling me I shouldn't wear masks when I go to Lowe's because they have cameras everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, now, that's funny because like the people who didn't want a mask now might want a mask because
Yeah.
it's anti-surveillance. You never know where you land on the mask situation. And this one, I wanted to know more about the creepy dolls.
Yeah.
And they did
Are
not.
there no photos?
They didn't bring the details here, no.
FBI searches Peabody, quote unquote, creepy doll, unquote, business owner's home in Salem. And that was the extent of the story. So obviously they didn't find anything super bad.
They found this one picture of the door, I guess, to it. But this Cat's Creepy Creations was, they did a lot of stuff with human bones and skulls and stuff.
How do you get those legally?
I don't know. Maybe
How do you
that's-
acquire?
You
a
can
human
actually
skull?
buy all that on Amazon, which is crazy.
I do see. So like, I was trying to figure out the idea of a bone I found, and there's a lot of people who sell like animal bones on Etsy,
Oh, yeah,
which
yeah.
is odd.
And they dug up the yard, too, and took some stuff. Some people watching it were like, yeah, they came out of there with boxes of stuff, but we didn't get any indication. And they asked the owner for comment, and they just no commented it. So there's a lot of questions still going on about Cat's Creepy Creations.
There's a lot of weird dolls on the marketplace, but I think it's mostly just strange old women.
Do you think there's any voodoo going on here?
No, I think people just like weird, creepy dolls.
Right now, there's somebody in a lab that's like, well, all this is innocuous stuff. And the people are like, we can't be embarrassed by this. You have to find something they did wrong.
Well, congratulations to the women of Saudi Arabia. Oh, so much liberation for you.
Saudi Arabia removes 13 new jobs
Approves.
for women.
Approved.
Removes.
I like that
Oh.
you just auto-corrected that.
Saudi Arabia approves 13 new jobs for women. Female drivers and private tutors are now allowed. But then you read the story and you get the details, and it's like,
I thought women weren't allowed to drive in Saudi Arabia. Did they change that?
They changed like a little bit, but now you can not only drive, you can be like an Uber.
engagement challenge. Is this for the international people to make them feel better? Because that's what it feels like.
Personal care worker, home tailor. What is a home? Oh, it's like you
Someone
you
who
stay at your own home.
modifies clothes. Yeah.
Home manager, home farmer. They weren't allowed to farm in their own homes before. Chris, what would you do if your government told you weren't allowed to farm at your own
Maybe
home?
that's where my line in the sand would be.
And we've talked a lot about the Thai government in the past. The king, yes, Thailand still has a monarchy. The king must never be insulted or maligned in any way. And much like Mr. Winnie the Pooh Xi Jinping, it's a very low bar.
Rubber duck calendar lands Thai man in jail for an insult to monarch. A very low bar indeed.
Did
Yeah.
people compare him to a rubber duck, I guess?
The rubber duck is, you remember the Hong Kong where they had the umbrellas and the blank sheets of paper?
Yeah.
And it was like, no, that's revolutionary. Rubber duck is kind of like that.
Oh,
in
okay.
Thailand.
So it's become a symbol.
And there were some pictures like here, you see that's the rubber duck on the money. Well, it would be the king on the money. So,
The ego on these people.
and China, decidedly not woke at all. I don't think they understand it. I mean, they've got to be aware of it because, you know, they keep their eye on everything, but they definitely don't understand how it works. And the other thing about China is they really want to get into Africa. They want to be the provider for Africa for all the energy and infrastructure and stuff. So they're trying to be Africa friendly, but they just don't understand it.
Chinese embassy denies racism in the quote unquote blackface skit. And then you read this and you think, oh, China, that is blackface.
Was there not a video of it?
No, this is it right here. So this woman right here is a Chinese woman. She is painted black and they added padding to give her the big booty.
Oh.
Yeah. This monkey here is a Chinese guy in a monkey outfit. Right. And then they introduced that as sort of like a, hey, we love Africa.
It's like, could you not just hire African actors instead of whatever this is?
So they got some backlash there.
Pretty sure this was an Always Sunny skit.
It could have been easily.
Yeah.
I know, you got a license for that article, and this one is maybe the craziest one we've ever had.
It is forbidden to silently pray in certain places, according to the UK.
So this lady here is anti-abortion. And over the years, she has tried a variety of things to try to dissuade people from getting abortions by going to the clinics. Now, that's obviously not allowed. But now, all she does is she goes to the clinic, she stands there, and she closes her eyes. And she was questioned by the police. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Are you praying? You better not be praying. And yes, she was convicted for praying silently to herself at an abortion
Not
clinic.
causing a scene. That's insane.
I mean, she was standing there, but
But if you're not harassing people, like I can see not harassing someone trying to go to their medical appointment. But
if
you're
that's
just
a public
standing
sidewalk.
there, yeah, you're not hurting anybody.
And when they questioned her, she said, well, there were some moments when I was praying, but the moment that you're talking about, I don't know, maybe I wasn't praying at that time. Maybe I was thinking about something else. And they were like, oh, whatever, you're going to jail. Yeah, that's just, if you're in the UK, that should be your line in the sand, whether you're religious or not. And speaking of religious wars,
As Israel's
Smotrich
says that the call to quote unquote wipe out a Palestinian town was just a slip of the tongue, just a figure of speech. That's not what I meant at all. That was totally what he meant.
Now, what he said was, we should wipe out that town.
Oops.
There's been some violence there, as there is at all times on that border. And World War III, boy, we're creeping toward it, aren't we?
It does feel like every story has been like, oh, things are ramping up, and it's like I don't want to go down this plot line.
Like week after week, I can't remember a week where I thought like maybe we got a little further away from World War III this week. It's always a little bit closer, but this is a very, very bad news story for Americans if we do go there.
77% of young Americans are too fat, mentally ill, or on drugs or more to join the military.
One of all, pick one or pick all of them.
Oh, they bring that up. So it's actually a fairly low number that only has one of these. Most people have a combination. Remember what we talked about? They do now have the fat company and the stupid company in the military. So like, oh, you failed on one of those two things, but we'll still take you and we'll put you in here. It's sort of like the 099 for military. But even that apparently is too high a bar for most of our youth.
Well, we're fortunate the big brains in Microsoft are bringing us the AI to be able to bring back John Candy to bring us the movie Fat Company.
I don't know that movie. You talking about Stripes?
Yeah. But the woke, version for World War III preparation.
Wouldn't a better alternate title for Stripes for the modern age be Stretch Marks? And you're not allowed to abuse animals as much these days. That's a good thing. You can all get behind that.
As much.
But we still need to be entertained. We need to forget the misery around us. So we got some novel ways.
See how this quote-unquote cruelty-free circus replaced animals with holograms.
Sugar bread and holograms.
Listen, if we're going holograms, you don't have to do animals. You can do Hatsune Miku.
Or Tupac, which we've already got. So what they do is they put up this big mesh thing right here. And then that, when you turn the lights off, you can't really see it that well. And that is the thing
projects
that holds the holograms. It looks
It
interesting.
contains them, because otherwise they would stampede into the audience.
It looks interesting, but I don't know that I would pay to go out and see that,
Circuses are bad vibes.
I don't know what this girl is doing.
What's the caption? I
I
can't
don't
read
think
it.
she's a hologram.
She might be. You
It
just don't
says
know.
she's a robot.
She's part of the metaverse.
And here's the thing you got to remember. In the good old United States, you can sue anybody for any reason as long as you've got the fee.
Nebraska woman files suit against all people who are homosexual. And it's got a handwritten filing, which is amazing.
Oh, eventually, does this count for people who haven't come out officially? Like, how do they define it?
That's a good question. She is suing on behalf of God and Jesus, and she's tired of the homosexuals, and she would like to see them change their ways, and she's going to try to force them to do that.
Do you think she even knows any homosexuals in Nebraska?
I'm sure there's lots of homosexuals in Nebraska. Come on.
There's not a lot of people in general in Nebraska.
And she probably is not going to have success here, but people are really having a lot of fun with it. Here's part of her case. I'm 66 years old, and I never thought that I would see the day in which our great nation or our great state of Nebraska would become so compliant to the complicity of some people's lewd behavior.
I hope she's never been on the internet. It gets so much weirder.
What if you have a homosexual couple who are like old and they're not having sex anymore? Then there's no.
There's so many.
Right?
Yeah, there's so many loopholes here. Like, how does she gonna have to have a lawyer to find? And what is she hoping to get? Like $1 from each one?
No. She pointed out she's not seeking any
Damages?
damages. She just wants them to stop. And the personal recognizance bond strikes again this week. This one is even more disgusting because, my God, how dangerous is this?
Person arrested for DUI twice in 5 hours in York County. That's York County, Pennsylvania. She was arrested. Or wait.
They're like, just, you're still drunk, but we're just gonna let you go.
Well, so what happened was they were pulled over for DUI. It was confirmed they had the DUI. They locked them up, let them out some hours later. They went back to their car, called the cops, and said, hey, my car's not working. And the cops went out there to help and determined that they were drunk again.
Lost in sauce.
5 hours. So they had to so when they got out, I'm assuming you don't stay drunk for 5 hours, right? So they went and got more alcohol before they went back to the car and managed to get drunk on the way there.
They might be able to check themselves into rehab to avoid real jail time. I mean, that'll be good.
No.
They're going to lose their license, but
They should lose their license.
I don't want to, as a taxpayer, I don't want to pay for them being in jail. I just don't want them driving.
I think that's a reasonable cost. Get this insane person off the street, save a life, pay some jail fees.
Let's see how they do rehab first, and then if they don't do so good, then jail time.
See, that's exactly the kind of mentality that we're getting in these liberal cities.
What about like a Taco Bell sponsored rehab? Can we do
Well,
that?
I remember so this was, I guess, 2021.
Yeah.
When this first, the metaverse was just a burgeoning new thing.
It was the hot new investment capital strategy. It was to put metaverse on stuff.
And Taco Bell went there first, and everybody's like, that's stupid. But apparently it's still going strong.
San Francisco tech couple marries in a Taco Bell metaverse, but they're not stopping there.
That looks like a real place in that photo.
Well, so he pointed out that they met at a Taco Bell or something. And so it was a big part of their thing. And I assume these people have some money. Maybe they're from rich families. I think he worked in Hollywood. But they're having a total of
They're
5.
a tech couple, it says.
They're having 5 weddings. One of them will be in the Taco Bell metaverse. The others will just be all over the place.
The black bean and rice chalupa is almost edible for me. The shell is too greasy. It makes me
Not feel well.
Do you like it?
The beans and it's beans and rice.
Do you really like it?
No.
Oh, you should have said yes, and I was going to say, why don't you marry it? And of
The
course,
joke wasn't that good.
Well,
Wow.
the food wasn't that good either.
it's a Taco Bell caliber joke.
Yeah.
And of course, I added this one just so Wendell could wax poetic about one of his heroes.
The final act of Worf, the Star Trek legend who deserved one most of all. And, a lot of credit goes to Michael Dorn because they did add the Worf character at the last minute, and Michael Dorn was sort of left to come up with it. And he did sort of go against the grain, and he did a good job with it and all that other kind of stuff. My favorite is the supercut of all the times they said no to Worf, where Worf's like, I've got an idea, let's do this. And they were just like, no. He really, really got a bad rep. But this is just plugging the new season of Picard, which
Oh, no.
the people on our Twitch chat has said is okay. And so I was like, okay, maybe it's a little better. Maybe season 3 will be good like season 2. And that is incorrect.
Oh, have you watched it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I watched it at the behest of the Twitch chat, and
Did they fail you?
What? So
They have.
Let's say that, like, what if season 1 and 2 would probably be like a 3 out of 10 or something like that, right? What is season 3?
3.1.
They got a new guy writing it, right?
Yeah, season 2, it's really weird because season 3 starts like season 2 never existed. And there's a couple of callbacks to season 1, but they're still really heavy with the callbacks. And you can tell that some of the new writers didn't really get very far. Like there's a lot of callbacks to season 1, and it's like, guys, and if you're a real Star Trek The Next Generation fan, you don't really weigh season 1 that heavily on stuff. And also, like, spoiler alert, in the 4th episode, major plot point is ship doesn't have power. That's a pretty common thing in Star Trek. It's like, oh, we don't have power for some reason. And so they spend some time on the holodeck. And it's like,
Where's the power for that coming from?
yeah, they actually inserted in like the most ham-fisted way. They inserted some dialogue that's like, oh, the holodeck power is on a separate grid now. And it's like, guys, come on.
How many times did engineering have to like move power from one system to another?
Yeah,
they could easily do that.
that's a writer who obviously did not watch the episodes. They only watched Star Trek First Contact, the movie, because in that one they actually used the holodeck to attack the Borg, and that wasn't a power problem. That was the loss of control of the ship. But the holodeck wasn't considered a critical system. That had nothing to do with power. It was all about the Borg losing control of the thing. Because there's also another Borg reference later in that episode. It's just like,
But let's try to stay on point here. How was Worf's performance in season 3?
it was actually very good.
Okay.
It was nicely done. It was a reasonable cameo.
They also pointed out in an article that the whole recurring joke of Worf having no sense of humor was kind of like his idea of how to play that,
Yeah,
which was it was always really funny.
Yeah.
because he was the straight man.
Yeah.
and he never got the joke.
yeah.
Well, so as we collapse financially, some industries that are going to do well is vices like alcohol and probably some prostitution and gambling. And you can gamble on sporting events because you don't know the outcome, right?
WWE in talks with state gambling regulators to legalize betting on scripted match results. And it's like, wait a minute. If it's scripted, how are you?
What happens when that gets leaked?
Couldn't you just like, let's say that you were in league with the gambling organization and the betting was really heavy to one side. What would stop you from just changing the outcome and reaping all that money? Also, back in the early days of wrestling, when it was like a carnival traveling show, that was one of the ways that they duped the little townsfolk, is they had them bet on the wrestling, which was predetermined because they didn't know. We've gone full circle.
Isn't that?
No, this time we'll have an AI determine the outcome. That way they get the investor dollars too.
I'm pretty sure this is a plot point in Mike Judge's Idiocracy. It's like, wait a minute.
It's not, but it should have been. If there's ever a sequel.
Oh, I just saw this headline.
Yeah. So, this gal's a voice actor, and voice actresses, they get a lot of attention from the nerds. Like people really latch onto them. They really love them. And she has obviously been receiving of that so much that she understands the pitfalls of it.
The pitfall.
An anime actress with nearly 1 million Twitter followers tweeted out a guide telling her fans to bathe before coming to her concert. Man, that is a tough conversation to have. This is probably the best way to handle it.
Wasn't there was some convention a few years ago where they had posters up that were like, hey, maybe put on a little deodorant today.
Yeah, anime.
Yeah.
Just, at a very basic level, it's like, oh, I'm one of those people that doesn't have to bathe every day. You are one of those people that have to bathe every day.
Krista
bathe
claims
every
that
It's bad for your hair.
But I mean, like Krista.
I do put on deodorant every day.
Krista is physically radically different than both of us. So
Yeah.
I could totally see that our world experience doesn't transfer onto her. And I've never detected a foul odor from her.
Yeah.
But Krista, do you wash your face every day?
Yeah, I wash my face and hands and feet every day.
So
and
how-
I also put on lotion every day and I deodorant. Like you do stuff so you don't stink.
Do you spend more than 10 minutes in front of a sink every day?
Wait a minute. She just brought something up. I got my mental picture here. Do you like hike your foot up into the sink?
No,
one
you
at
just
a
put it
time?
in the bathtub.
Oh, okay.
More so during like the summer when you're wearing sandals, you don't want to go to bed with dirty feet.
Well, a bathtub would count in that scenario.
Yeah.
It's like, so do you spend more than 10 minutes a day self-grooming?
Yeah, because you got to comb the hair, you got to put on your deodorant, got to put on your sunscreen.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, I don't have to bathe every day. Yes, you do. I don't have to wash my hair every day. Maybe every other day.
But you got to wash it.
And you got to use shampoo. And the soap is really something that's very important. Like, you need to cover your skin.
Don't just think that the shampoo runs down. You got to scrub.
Yeah, your skin needs to have a thin film of soap on it, and then you have to rinse that off so that you know that you're doing a good
But
job.
it's insane that like no one's explained that to some people, and they get to adult life and don't know it.
No, I mean, I've had that conversation before, and it's like, you really should do this. People notice, and it's like, oh, people, nobody's mentioned it in a while. They're not noticing. They're noticing.
They're just choosing not to say anything because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand that, like, your own funk,
Your nose
are immediately like, cause it's there so much and it comes on slowly for you.
Yeah.
You're never going to notice it.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm like, during the pandemic, I'd go a couple days without taking a shower and then I would notice it. And I'm like, wow, imagine what everybody else
Yeah,
is doing.
well, when you're gonna be around people, it's like, okay, I got to shower because I'm gonna be around people. Like,
Yeah.
it's just common courtesy. But
Well, speaking of grooming, my cats spend a lot of time grooming. Imagine how intense the grooming was for this cat.
I'm pretty sure this is just a promo for the Cocaine Bear movie, but we'll go with it. We'll go with the headline. Wild big cat captured in Oakley tests positive for cocaine, transferred to the zoo.
So I can see this because owning exotic animals is a big drug dealer thing. Because remember, we had an article before where somebody was like dealing in wild animals and meth at the same time, and somebody got shot.
what's it, Joe Exotic or whatever? I could kind of see that.
He's still in the pokey, isn't he?
Is he?
Oh, yeah. Hey, remember, because he thought
I didn't
Trump
watch
was going to pardon him, and he got a limousine and Trump let him down.
Oh,
But they're going to rehab this cat. I get it. And hopefully he'll have a good life. But he's probably never going to get the sweet, beautiful experience of being
he'll
high on
never be that
cocaine.
high again.
Imagine if, they got him in the truck or something. He's going down the road and he gets a whiff of cocaine. And he's like, I got to have
I
it.
remember that core memory.
It's like
Tears his way
catnip.
out.
Yeah, the cat will go insane if it gets some catnip.
And Toronto, apparently, the leaders of Toronto think that they have God powers.
Yeah.
City of Toronto puts up a sign limiting barking at dog park and removes it following public scrutiny. I get putting up a sign that's like, if your dog is barking continuously, something is wrong, but dogs are going to bark.
But this is also the place we bring dogs to sort of like get
Get
that
their
out.
energy out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when Rue was a puppy, the only thing that at our dog park had it was like, make sure your dog has their shots so they don't pick up parvo, and like clean up after your dog. And they also said don't bring toys because the dogs tend to get weirdly territorial over them.
No, I can see that.
So they were just allowed to run and play with each other.
Do they have policies on cocaine?
No, but I think it's frowned upon to bring cocaine to the public park.
Frowned upon.
Frowned upon, but not illegal.
And another out of control cat, although I don't think it was the cat's fault in this situation. I think that the mail carrier needs to work on his form.
Armed police were put on standby in Bodmin after delivery was attacked by a cat. Yeah, that was the mailman.
He put his whole finger in the slot.
Oh, and the cat.
And the cat was like, oh, toy. Like, why would you need to put your whole hand in there? Just like,
Just slide the mail in.
yeah.
Also, like, cricket grabs me quite a bit, and like, it doesn't feel great, but it doesn't. I'm not like, like,
Yeah, but in that cat's mind, that might not necessarily have been a human. He probably attacked the mail every day.
Oh.
And today it was like, ooh.
Yeah,
Meat.
really got at it. Yeah,
I finally
maybe.
got it. Its meaty goodness. Also, not just bathing, laundry.
Oh, yeah.
Try not to wear your clothes more than like a day or two in a row.
You just thought about
You're
that.
back there having like flashbacks.
Yeah. It's like you need to do your laundry. Like you really do.
It's probably a transition here about smelling like a monkey, but I can't come.
HelloFresh drops coconut milk from Thailand over monkey labor allegations. They weren't just allegations. There's
They were
lots
true.
of lots of amazing, horrifying, but also I can't look away videos on the internet of monkeys that have been severely punished if they don't help farm the coconuts. But is it better than people? Is it worse than people?
Do we have to choose one or the other?
Can't we just treat things well?
Can we? Is there a Centacow idea for coconut milk that we can do lab coconut milk?
I mean, we've got the coconuts. It's not a matter of growing the coconuts, it's just a matter of extracting the milk from them. Yeah, that's a wild story. I got to figure, like, if you trained monkeys to do that and just gave them a reward for it and if they weren't interested, it's like, all right, you're not interested. We're going to take you and put you back over here. Would that be okay?
Well, if this is okay, then wouldn't the fastest route to some of the commerce for this is like really terrible industries like refining lead or steel working? And it's like, we need to breed super intelligent monkeys that don't have any rights that can work the steel mills.
No, they're just going to lower the age that people can work so that way children can work in those jobs.
Here's the thing about it. I think if they drop a coconut, people don't get incinerated.
Well, maybe in your farm they don't.
We could build some AI safety protocols into that steel mill. It's probably fine.
And I purposely sorted the very last story to be a kind of sad animal story with a great ending.
Cemetery staff take out a personal ad for a goose whose mate died, and they found her a new match.
Aw. I mean, geese are kind of hell animals, but
So they went
they
on,
deserve love.
the male goose died, and the female, they noticed she was staring at shiny surfaces. She was looking at her reflection. She wanted another goose. So they went out on Facebook and they were like, this is a long shot, but are there any single male gooses out there, geese, who are lonely? And there was a family like, oh my God, one of our pond geese, the girl just died and he's so sad.
Oh.
And they put them together, and from the first moment, they loved each other.
Aw.
And now they hang out all day at the cemetery, being happy.
Oh, yeah, there's a... Oh, just missed the video. Look at it just staring. Oh.
Fun times.
They should
What a
have,
happy story.
you know what they should do for those geese? They should give them a Taco Bell wedding.
Oh, in the metaverse.
Yeah.
The metaverse goose wedding. If you'd said that 5 years ago, everyone's like, what are you talking about? And yet that's a real sentence now.
There's artwork and all kinds of stuff. It's got quite the cult following on the internet.
As they deserve.
Yeah. If you have to follow any story, that's a good one to follow.
Fun times.
All right, that's it for the week. We will see you guys next week.
Thanks for hanging out.